As the excruciatingly short, not live playoffs of season 23 of The Voice continue, Kelly Clarkson and Niall Horan are super screwed. The Voice Season 23 playoffs continued on Monday. As last week, kindly take note that I did not state live playoffs, since this round was pre-taped yet again. It's still unclear to me whether NBC is attempting to accommodate Kelly Clarkson's talk show tapings, new coaches Niall Horan and Chance the Rapper's hectic schedules, or simply retiring coach Blake Shelton's senioritis. However, it turns out that just the final 2 weeks of Blake's final season of The Voice would be broadcast live. Only those 2 weeks, the top 8 semifinals the next week and the final matchup the following Monday, will allow for public voting. When Adam Levine and Blake were still close friends and The Voice was still in its early, classic seasons, audiences had weeks of live performances and interactive voting to become invested in each team's singers. But these days it seems as though they came to an end soon after Mark Burnett determined that the position of social media correspondent held by Allison Hayslip, Christina Milian, was no longer required, or after the original coach CeeLo Green's mascot Perfect the Cat lost her endorsement agreement with Meow Mix. Anyway, last week, the 10 competitors who made up teams Chance and Blake performed, and it was these 2 coaches who decided which 4 singers would move on to the semifinals, not the home viewers. This week, Team Kelly and Team Niall went through the same process. This was a more unpleasant episode because it could be claimed that those 2 teams were much more stacked and, as a result, were hampered even more by Season 23's constrained timeline and team quotas. Knowing they could only save 2 candidates from each of their 5-person teams, Kelly was sweating, and Niall's heart was beating fast as they made some difficult choices. "I feel like I could get it so wrong, but I can't go wrong with any of you," Niall said to his friends. "Oh my God, I had forgotten how soothing your voice is." During Monday's practice sessions with D Smooth, Kelly shouted. He hasn't performed on the show in weeks, so of course she forgot. Since D Smooth was Kelly's playoff pass competitor, he was exempt from participating in the knockout rounds. And while getting the playoff pass looked to provide him an advantage at the time, it wasn't really that helpful. The only real benefit the competitors receive from this show is exposure due to the short season and the fact that so few Voice contestants from any season go on to have successful careers. Additionally, the playoff pass competitors for this season skipped the knockouts, giving them less exposure. Looking back, it was something similar to being montaged. D Smooth, however, made up for the lack of screen time with his energetic, floor-sitting, completely contemporary performance, in which he elevated a college song that Kelly had expressed concern about because it might be too linear through his skilled ad-libbing. Chance gushed, "I can picture you in front of thousands of screaming fans while you do your little improv runs. That's my favorite thing you've ever done on the show," while Kelly enthused, "That's my favorite thing you've ever done on the show. I hadn't previously experienced smoke from any other squad until this point. I wasn't concerned until this very moment." As Blake pointed out, this song is a monster. Ann Wilson is no joke. So I will give Kate kudos for not playing it safe. But looking back, perhaps this was too much of a gamble. She swayed and wavered a lot during the verses, either from her heavy vibrato or understandable anxiety. And while Chance enjoyed her dramatic, methodical slow walk, it simply seemed to me that her movement was being restricted by her long, tight column gown. The chorus then began, and Kate started to scream and shout. Even Kelly, who had mistakenly dubbed Kate one of the best singers she had ever heard on The Voice, acknowledged that she had sounded better during rehearsal. Blake nodded. "It seems like you sing the song really well and hit all the big stuff, but in some of those runs, the pitch got off for a little bit," the commenter said. Kate received assurance from Kelly that the performance was solid and was informed, "You should feel so badass that you just conquered that song." Tonight, I believe Kate arrived, Kate saw, but Kate didn't quite win. This John Hyatt classic, which Neil claimed sounded like a hymn, was performed by him in a Hozier-esque fashion at church. Rock and roll, gospel, and soul were all represented in the conversational, assured performance, and as usual, he made it appear simple. "Maybe too simple. All you ever do," said Blake, "is come out here and be terrific every time. This season, you've arguably been the most reliable individual. For a large part of season 23, Neil's dependability has allowed him to go unnoticed, and Kelly, who just recently took over as his coach, wasn't really all that familiar with what he could do. But Chance, Neil's ardent supporter from the start, believed that Neil could win the whole thing, while Niall believed Kelly's newest employee had just thrown a spanner in the works about her last-minute decisions. Even if Kate's attempt at a huge song didn't go as planned, Kelly was adamant that this is the time to do a big song. Ollie, one of the most distinctive singers in the competition, seems up to the challenge and followed Kelly's advice to start soft and acoustic before going full-on churchy in the conclusion. Ollie's performance was praised by Chance as fire, while Blake stated, "You have this way of realizing whatever your vision is. I find it difficult to think of you not moving forward. You hear music better than most people, Ollie, and I don't know whether you realize how unique it is," Kelly said to Ollie, who is deaf. "Your runs are unique from everyone else and intriguing, cool, and invigorating." Given that Kelly likes to win and since this season is notably devoid of country music and Blake's final season, it didn't seem plausible that she would give up her one country singer. Holly has the potential to surpass Team Blake's Grace West, a country music singer. "In spite of the fact that I felt Holly's Joe DiMessina cover was attractive and classy, I don't believe it was the significant emotional turning point Kelly described it to be or had hoped it would be. It was strong but quiet." However, Holly's performance impacted Kelly to the point that she said to Holly, "You bring us to that place where you're battling and it's hard, but you're gonna conquer it. Few artists can achieve that, which is pretty cool." Niall was certain that Ross could take one of the biggest stadium songs by one of the biggest bands of all time by the scruff of its neck and in the process demonstrate his underrated range. This soft rocking dad had veered more toward the country, folk side of the rock spectrum during the entire season. Niall from Ireland appeared ecstatic that U2 had allowed Ross to perform their song. Since they don't do it frequently, he must have truly thought it was worthwhile the request. Blake wondered, "I don't know why people don't do that song more often," and Kelly said, "I suppose you have to be an Irish coach to get it cleared." Chance, meanwhile, had no knowledge of the song at all. He and Blake's combined ignorance of tunes could easily fill the National Recording Registry. Niall claimed that Ross took the song to its logical conclusion, Belterville, but with his tinted sunglasses, long lank hair, and black western wear, he almost looked like a Bono cosplayer leading a cover band called U2. Nevertheless, Ross generally rose to the occasion, belting like he had never belted before. Ross's voice were thereby well represented here, but neither his creativity nor his personality were. Even yet, it appeared to be a crowd-pleasing, all-encompassing song choice that anyone could enjoy, all save Chance, that is.